Hi, everybody. I'm Tanya Marie Dubé, and welcome back to another episode of The Empowered Woman. I'm so happy you're here. My guest today is the lovely Jessica Engel. Jessica works with business owners and entrepreneurs to develop strategies for success. She has decades of experience working in business development, and not only does she empower her clients to achieve success in business, she delves deeper into their desires in order to establish success in their lives. So let me say welcome, Jessica. How are you?
Thank you. I'm wonderful. Thank you for the introduction. I'm really
It's so nice.
excited to be here.
Oh, so nice to have you here. Before we get started, I want to remind everybody that Jessica has an amazing free gift for you. So stick around, watch the entire interview, and she's going to teach you how you can use the free gift to empower your life. And she's got a little something extra special today. So Jessica, let's begin. I wanted to jump right into this exciting new project that you're working on. You're looking for co-contributors for a book that you're putting together called Fall into Fear. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Fall into fear is a concept that I fell into on my yoga mat. It was about 18 months ago, and I was in a yoga class where I was instructed by a yoga teacher who tried to start the class out with an influential story and like really setting the stage for what we were going to experience that day. And so what he taught that day was an ability to just let go of that which you're afraid of, because when you're clinging onto it so tightly, it's limiting your action. You're virtually stuck in a space where you can't move. Right. And so this fall into fear is a very simple concept, that of just surrendering and letting go. And right. when you let go of that fear, it's a very graceful, calm process that allows you to just fall into action or down a road that you haven't ventured down before. And so it's full of new possibilities and a new life that you can create.
Wow, I love that. Okay, yes, sorry, go on.
Yeah. So, such an amazing story that he told in such a short time. I think he told that little story, and his was based on going skydiving. And his friend had asked him,
like terrifying things ever, right?
Right, especially for someone who's afraid of heights. So this guy is deathly afraid of heights, and it's not an interest of his to go skydiving, to go jump out of a plane. Like, it's just like, that's a no pass for me, right?
Yeah.
But his friend asked him with sincerity, would you please, just for my birthday gift, would you please go skydiving with me? And he said yes. He said yes. So on the way up, he was fighting his fear. Like, it came up in every single way where he was having a complete physical, mental, emotional breakdown.
Yeah.
And in that moment, he realized that this has happened several times in his life. And what does he normally do? He quits.
Runs away.
He's like, I can't do it. This isn't me. I can't. And there have been times where he would just push through, but be miserable and in a state of anxiety the whole way through.
Yeah.
And then he realized that there was actually a third option that hadn't ever occurred to him before, and that was that he could surrender it.
I love that word.
Yeah. So he just let go, and literally he fell back down to the earth, and had an exhilarating experience that he wouldn't have had either if he had quit or if he had done it fearfully.
Wow. So did that end up changing his life?
It did. Unfortunately, he passed away unexpectedly a couple weeks after that class.
Wow. Talk about timing.
I know. So I'm dedicating this book to Dave.
Oh, that's
my core yoga instructor.
Oh, Jessica, that's beautiful. And what a lesson for him to learn before the end of his days, right? Mm-hmm. Really?
Right.
That's really beautiful, because I think a lot of us, I was thinking a little bit about this before our interview today, and I was thinking about, there's the good fear that saves us from, like when you're there's like a dark alley and it's an easier way for you to go down the dark alley to get to where you want to go to, but it's just not a good idea to do this. That good fear is the thing that's set in place to protect us. But then there's just the fears like we have of these things that maybe we don't really have a real reason to be afraid other than how we were raised or what we were taught, or maybe it's our mother's fear or our father's fear. And it's important to work through that and not run away from that. Those two, I don't know that our brains can differentiate between the two. So it's up to us to really push ourselves. Right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So my first question for you is, I want to know how you got started on this journey that you're on.
Let me just say, I am fully in my fall into fear moment right now.
Good.
So I just want to make it clear that this is not something that I have mastered in my life. I am currently in action working on it. And as I'm working on it, I'm sharing what I'm going through. Because I just think that community is so important. And that's why I'm here today, to be able to have a conversation with you that will leave others impacted in a way that they want to also move into action.
That's awesome.
Every expert was a beginner at some point, and I definitely had my beginner stage. I found myself in a Live Out Loud 3 Days to Cash seminar when I was a director of operations at a private Montessori school. So I'm a Montessori teacher by trade, and I've worked with young children and in early childhood development for the majority of my career. When I landed in that seminar, it was an invitation from my now wife, who does business coaching for small businesses. And she's an amazing entrepreneur. She is the president of Call It Incorporated.
Awesome.
And she's got some amazing clients. And so this is the community that I want to give back to first, because this is the community where my life was born.
Aww.
In that 3 Days to Cash, I understood that there was a possibility for me to create something else that I wanted. And at that point, I was really stuck in a situation where public school and private school funding doesn't allow the therapeutic results that are required for success in schools without the aid of public or private health care. So at that point, when I went to the Live Out Loud community and learned that I have this possibility, I got into action right away. And I created an amazing company with a partner of mine, and in the healthcare industry, to help special needs. I didn't understand that prior to...
a little bit. I just want to say that you just said, in case anybody didn't catch it, that you worked with children specifically with special needs, yeah?
Yes, that's correct. So we developed an amazing therapeutic company, and now that I've moved back into a contracting world, I'm working on bridging the gaps between the private school and public school sector and the healthcare industry in giving resources to families, teachers, and clinicians.
Right. And so now you've moved into your work with business owners and entrepreneurs through that?
Right. Yeah. So the first fall into fear really was making a straddle move out of a W-2 position and into an independent
contractor
position, which then I created a relationship with my partner where we were able to develop the healthcare company.
Got it. Wow. That's really interesting. Is there anything else you want to tell us about that?
And then, just the most recent one was the transition from that company back into building other businesses, which Embraced Child, which is the resource company for teachers, clinicians, and parents. I'm also working on this Fall into Fear project.
Wow.
Yeah. And additionally, I'm working independently for a couple of clients who allow me to have great, impactful conversations with small business owners.
Wow, this is really exciting. It's an exciting time for you.
It's a really exciting time. It's been about 6 months since the transition out of that company, and I'm on fire. I can't shut up, when you're totally in action and it's eating up your days, finding new conversations and new opportunities and all these possibilities. I don't know if you've seen Black Panther.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my gosh. You've got to go see it like today. I'm totally doing a plug for Black Panther because it was so good. And what it teaches is that we are a collective consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
We all are a part of this huge human race that is evolving and molding, and we are expanding at an exorbitant rate.
Mm-hmm.
I
was going to say that. I love that whole idea. My daughter and I were watching The Matrix. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and we were watching The Matrix together, and I was trying to get her to understand how we all plug into the same source. Like we all come from the same, like we're all one collectively, really, right? I mean, it was in line with what you're saying right now, yeah?
Yeah. My dad attempted suicide about a month ago.
Oh no, Jess.
Yeah. It's been a really trying time. He retired a few years ago and just hasn't been able to find anything of interest.
He doesn't feel like he has purpose?
Yeah. And he doesn't have any worth. Oh, which breaks my heart.
Send to me. I would love to talk to him.
Okay.
I've counseled people through, I say counseled, I'm not a full psychologist. My background is in social psychology, but in the work that I do, I have counseled people going through, usually it was adversity, it was going through transition. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that I noticed was going through a major divorce is very similar to ending a career and moving into retirement. Mm-hmm. The same problems kind of lied right on the surface with not having as full of a life, not feeling like you have purpose anymore, not understanding that you have options, right? Like a lot of the things are exactly the same. So I'm sorry your father's going through that.
Well, thank you. I will definitely tell him that you're a wonderful resource and recommend you.
Absolutely. I would talk to your father. I hate the whole idea of retirement, and I've talked about this publicly many times now. I think that retirement is a doom and gloom situation. You go from being fully active and, you're engaging with other humans and you're having this, you're having these experiences that you need other humans to have. And then the end of, retirement comes and all of a sudden you have all this time and it's quiet, and you suddenly feel like you're not any longer a part of the conversation. I think it's bad. Retirement's bad.
Yeah.
But it should be by choice. I don't want to say everybody should be forced to work until they're dead, but nothing like that. But I just think forced retirement especially is just awful.
Yeah. So he actually just came here on Friday, and he was here gracing me with his presence all weekend. And I just am so grateful to still have him. And that was really a tragic time for him where he didn't realize what he was doing. He was so down that he wasn't conscious, Yeah. He fulfilled on the action of it, this is over.
Yeah.
And luckily it wasn't. I had a really great conversation with my mom after she realized that he had taken some pills and got him into the hospital. But it was a bad few days for him, and he told the experience that he went through.
When he was with you on the weekend?
Uh-huh. And we just need to reach out. We got to get out to everybody and let them know that their life is important.
That their life is important, and fear doesn't mean the end. Fear actually means options. I really do believe that when we're scared of something, it means that there's a door that needs to be opened.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is why
Right.
I love the idea of your book. I love the idea of the book, and I love how many people your book is going to touch, because people need to know this. We need to understand
Mm-hmm.
that our lives do not start and stop with what's comfortable.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
we need to step outside of our comfort zone, and we need to be able to use our imagination and tap into our intuition and
Mm-hmm.
understand that there's always a bigger picture. You
Yeah.
know, the lack
Yeah.
of fulfillment just means that we need something to fill the space that we're fulfilled by.
Right.
Right? I love the idea of this book. I love it, love it, love it.
Thank you.
Can you
Yeah.
tell me now, I was wondering if you could tell me now a fall into fear story of yours in your personal life.
Ah, yes. Like I said, I'm falling into fear right now. So this is a really good example of, being the last 7 years of my life, I've been in front of a computer building a business operations, and uh, acting in the position of a CFO. So, this is a whole new world for me of jumping out of that and into this.
Wonderful.
And the other fall into fear story, well, the most applicable to my physical being and what I really resonate is either falling into fear in my yoga practice, like really daring to do things that I think are completely impossible, and then just doing it
Like
because I
what?
want
Like what?
to.
Can you tell me what?
I love to do the flying crane, or the crow, and there's like these side positions and arm balances that when I'm in them, I'm like, I can't believe, but the only way to get there is just to try, just to
Practice.
jump into it. So I love learning things on my mat and then taking them off of my mat and see if I can do that in the real world too.
Ah, I love that. No one's made an analogy between using those two things
Mhm.
on this show yet. That's
That's
interesting.
why that's why you need a yoga instructor like Dave
Yeah.
to teach you that concept.
Oh, that's cool.
But another one is that I birthed my children naturally, and that was a very physical fall into fear experience for me, because typically you're just afraid of pain.
And
Um,
and and this idea always creeps in with fear. I find that when we're like deathly afraid of something, like for some people, performing is like the most debilitating thing in the entire world, and they'll throw up, and there's all kinds of awful things that come with that.
mhm.
Um, but and I'm one of those people. I think that one of the things to remember is that oh, I forgot. I lost my train of thought. That's never happened on this show before. What was I going to tell you? Falling into fear. Oh, now I can't remember what I was going to say.
That's all
That's
right.
that's okay. Um, all right. So we're talking. Oh, gosh, you
I
had me.
totally needed a drink of water, so I appreciate it.
That worked out perfectly. I was picturing. See, this was my problem. I had too many thoughts going on in my head at once. I was picturing Dave
Uh-huh.
on the mat doing all of these awesome things and teaching you guys beyond the mat, right? Which was really cool. And then I got this visual of
And then I talked about giving birth naturally and holding on to pain. Does that?
oh yes, right. Okay, yes. My oh, thank you very much. My the ending of that story was that we all feel like when we're really stepping out of our comfort zone and into our fear that we're gonna die. This is the thing, don't we? And especially with childbirth.
I remember the first time I was pregnant, I was like nine months pregnant and overdue. And everyone that I looked at that had a child, I was like, they lived, she survived, she made it. And I'm looking at the survival rate because I really did think like I was going to die.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Okay, I have something in common with you almost. So for my very first child, I only have two. My first child, I decided that I was going to do a home birth, with no drugs, and use my two midwives.
Mm-hmm.
then that quickly moved into, I'm going to still have 2 midwives, no drugs, but in a birthing room. Someone scared the daylights out of me. But that was it. And then I got to the birthing room and was in active labor for 42 hours. And then they had to break my water. And from that point on, I was like a writhing animal. I couldn't handle it anymore. Yeah. So then I had to have the epidural done while I was a minute apart with my contractions. I'm telling you, the whole thing was terrifying. But I tried so hard. I really did try so hard. I like held on. And then by the time I had the baby, the epidural had worn off somewhat because it was so fast, right? So I did still feel it. That's funny that we have that in common. How long were you in labor for?
I did not have your horrible experience. My first one, I labored for 6 hours. Okay. My second one was like an hour and 45 minutes. And my third one was like 2 hours. So I was fortunate. When my body meant business, like it just went into action.
So. I could have had 15 kids in the amount of time it took me to have.
Yeah, no, I understand how you'd be completely depleted.
Yes. Okay. I wanted to ask you now, I want to know why everyone needs to read this book and why people need to jump in on contributing. I mean, I think I was asking myself earlier, like, how can people learn how to fall into fear in their own lives through this book? What's your vision for it?
Yeah. Well, you know, going back to the 2 stories of where I fell into fear as an entrepreneur, my entrepreneur communities like eSimplified and Sales Coach Now are an amazing support system to me. Not only do they give me content and resources, but they also allow me to have great conversations with small business owners. So I'm looking for people who own businesses, who are entrepreneurs, who have gone through this experience of falling into fear. So thinking of my first experience where I was director of operations in a private school with limited resources and jumping into a healthcare industry full of resources, you know, that's a really good example. Or jumping out of that company and into private contracting where I can work with small businesses, a lot of small businesses and small business owners. So those are examples of what I'm looking for as authors and co-contributors. Okay. I am limited on my space to 20 spots because each co-contributor will actually be writing an entire chapter. It'll be a short book, so a chapter would consist of 3 to 5 pages, or 3 to 7 pages. I could let you go a little longer, where really you have an opportunity to really speak out about what you're doing and your fall into fear experience and your business and the impact of your business, and really how do they get in touch with you in order to apply what you're teaching about falling into fear in relation to your business.
Wow.
So what a real opportunity for all of us, right?
Yes.
I'm really grasping community and the collective we are. And that, you know, when we find in our community that, that we have beginners, that we have people who are wanting to learn, who are looking, there are people who call me on the daily asking me just like, I need your advice. I want some input on what to do. We can do that. Like we can all come together and give the resources, like the collective, like intelligence of what we have to offer.
Wow. I love that. That's fantastic. Now, can you tell everybody how a person can actually apply to be a co-contributor?
Sure. Yeah. I created just a quick blog page called fallintofear.com. And on that page, there is an application link where if you fill out an application, I will send you a free gift. It's a cute little necklace that you can wear around your neck, reminding you of your falling into fear experience.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. Sorry.
That's a simple little application. It just has like 5 questions to tell me about yourself and your business. And from that pool of applications, I'll be selecting the 20 co-contributors.
Wow. That's really cute. I want to talk a little bit about that right at the end too. Okay. Yeah. So now I have the 8 questions that I ask every single expert who comes on my show. All about what makes you an empowered woman. So are you ready?
Yeah.
And just off the top of your head, answers, we can get in deep into anything you want to talk about. But the very first question is, what inspires you?
Hmm. Well, you definitely inspire me.
Oh,
Um, I love finding people who are in action and speaking out powerfully about, a way of being or other possibilities. Um,
yeah.
and that's just really inspiring. Brene Brown is super inspiring to me.
Yes, yes,
You
yes.
just like go take a listen. Like you will be impacted and inspired to like just
Listen
be
to
there,
anything that woman says. Yes.
right? Like
Yeah.
find some mentors in your community who you can look up to and go seeking with. Um, I'm very, very fortunate to be married to an extremely intelligent and brilliant entrepreneur, Rebecca Hall, and just completely motivated and inspired by her every day.
Aw, that's beautiful. I love love. I'm such a romantic person. I'm like 2 years now being separated from a very long marriage, from 18 and a half years of being with somebody. I'm
Mm-hmm.
thrilled. I'm so happy that I'm in my right space, but
Mm-hmm.
love, love. I just,
I know. I used to think it was ridiculous, and then I found it, and I was like, oh.
oh, that's really funny. But you know what? The greatest love that I've ever felt, and this is going to be totally cheesy, and you probably already know what I'm going to say, but the greatest love I've ever felt is the love I have for my kids. And I just think that love it's nuts crazy. Like you
Right?
don't expect anything from them. You just want to give them everything. It's just this
Yeah.
beautiful, this beautiful relationship. So,
Yeah.
I mean, but
For
beyond
real.
that, I'm a very romantic person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My next question for you is, how, in your experience, how do we live an awakened life?
From my experience, living an awakened life is just being in action. It's
Yeah.
like the simple little um, flip of a switch where you just turn it on. It's just in that blink moment of making a choice and doing that consistently over and over and over.
I'm making a note for that. I love that. It's about a
Mm.
little switch that you just flip on and you just
Yeah.
decide.
Yeah. Yesterday I listened to a TED Talk. It was a TED Talk Tucson, and I'm sorry I don't remember his name, but he talked about being in the Guinness Book of World Records for crocheting the largest granny square.
Really?
Which is kind of funny, but he talked about doing that exact same thing of like, we accomplish some amazing things in our lifetime, but it's really about breaking those macro tasks into micros. And those micros are just the little flip of a switch. It's not a big deal. You
Wow,
don't
you're
have to,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, he's absolutely right. That's exactly what it comes down to. And it's just about pushing yourself. Do you ever listen to Mel Robbins? Is that somebody that you follow?
yeah,
Sorry, you
we
froze. You
lost
froze
you.
a little bit. Yeah. Do you
Sorry.
listen to Mel? Do you follow her? She
Yeah.
has this thing for anybody who isn't familiar with Mel Robbins. She is an awesome motivational speaker. I think she's like the highest paid female motivational speaker, which one day I do plan to hold that title.
Awesome. You
Absolutely.
own it.
Oh, thanks. But she's got this 5 second rule that I can't. It's like changing my life. I love this 5 second rule. And the 5 second rule is that you count, and it helps with these little, like, once you have the big task and you break it down into all the smaller things that have to happen, because
Mm-hmm.
the make or break of you really happens in those small details, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's got this rule, the 5 second rule, and you have to count backwards the way you would when you're a kid and you're about to launch something. So the
Uh-huh.
idea is like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and when you get to 1, you've told yourself that you're just going to launch it. So you're just going to jump up and jump right into action.
Mm-hmm.
So on my phone, I have set 5 timers a day that says 5 second rule, because usually around very specific times of the day, I'm kind of like you just get tired, and then this thing goes off and I'm like, yes.
Going. Awesome.
Just jump right in. But yeah, it helps with those little tiny tasks that are kind of feel mundane but have to be done, right?
Mm-hmm. But they're fun too.
But they're fun too. All right, let me ask you this. What can we learn when we fall down?
Mm. Man, I was just I was talking about this with my dad yesterday. Because he's had this perspective of seeing a lot of things in black and white or right and wrong, and how things need to make sense.
Mm.
And I talked about the opportunity of failure in order for you to gain lessons, to evolve, and just to know how important it is.
And what did he say?
Important. And he got it. He got it when I talked about a student chess player. A student chess player won't become an expert by winning all the time. A student chess player would become an expert by losing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's understandable, right? You can digest that. Like, we're really, really going to evolve, not only as individuals, but as a human race when we fail.
Yeah, it's a must.
When we have things like the Holocaust, like we don't, it seems so unfortunate, but at the same time, it's so essential.
That's what all of our presumed failures are. They're life experiences, and they're meant to teach us. We're not meant to stay in that space forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the big lesson that I took after leaving my last company. I felt an enormous amount of failure.
You did.
I did. And I think we can do that to ourselves. We can beat ourselves up.
Yeah, it's true. Let me ask you now, I guess this is a good question for the end of that sentence that you just said, but how did you find the spirit to get back up after feeling like such a big failure?
Realizing that the failure is essential, then it's like, well, it was meant to be.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here.
It had to happen.
It had to happen.
Yeah, for you to take that, whatever you learned from that, and move it into the rest of your life.
For real. And then it's empowering. It's like, well, thank you, failure.
Yeah. You know what? I've talked about this with my kids too, about falling down, and my son is 6. So he's in this really self-aware space right now where he feels like people are, like they could really poke at him a little bit, right? Like he doesn't understand that things are just jokes sometimes, and like he's just learning. But anyway, so I explain things to both of them, like life being like, when it comes to failure and fear, it's like a video game. And that the destination of the person who's like running through the game is to get to the next level. They don't stop and fall down and be like, I don't want to anymore.
Right.
Like they have to keep going, right? Or if something scary happens to them, it's not perceived as scary because A, it's a video game, B, there's a destination, right? So and then we talk about all the, the things that we need to grab onto to take into the next stage. Those things need to happen in the video game, right? So it's the same thing with life, and everything is a learning experience so that you can be better on the next level. Yeah. So it's really funny with kids when you explain it to them like that. They're like, oh.
Well, yeah. I'm going to get to the next level.
What is the next level? That's what my son always says. What is it? Okay, my next question for you is, what is the most difficult decision you've had to make in order to pursue your destiny?
Oh, wow, there are so many, right?
Yeah.
The biggest one I haven't made yet.
You're still a work in progress.
Well, I do have a mission to get my entrepreneurial coaching out to the world. I believe that there are a lot of small communities who are not in communication with all of the resources, and they need to get linked in, right?
That's awesome. So you've never had to make any kind of really difficult decisions?
Yes, leaving my last company. That was it. Yeah. It just breaks my heart because of the relationships that have had to change. And but it's all for the best. But yeah, that would be it. That's the hardest.
What is your idea behind the human experience? Why are we here?
I believe that we chose to have this human experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we have an energy that's built from the cosmos, and that divine energy has the ability to create endless possibilities, and that the human race is one of those possibilities. And either we're going to thrive or we'll become extinct.
Hmm. It's all over.
Oh, that's gloom and doom, right? No, but like with all the changes and ebbs and flows of the cosmos, you know, we're a piece of that. And
Well,
so
I think that biologically can't imagine anything really eradicating the human
no,
race. However,
we're amazing.
the important key though in the progress of humanity is to be open and to
Mm,
be conscious and to be aware and present and mindful and not be afraid of trying new things and pursuing, what we're passionate about, even if it's just a
yeah.
glimmer of an idea inside of your head. Someone somewhere along the line told you that you cannot be that thing for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
To them, right? I
Yeah.
think the whole point of the human experience is to progress and to try and to experience and to fail.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yesterday, though, I accidentally saw a bit of the news, and I try not to do that. I try not to do that, but yeah, I saw a bit of the news, and there's, stuff going on with, conversations between North and South Korea, and, President Trump speaking to Kim. So, I was just out there. We took a trip to Asia and, did a little exploration around Hong Kong and Japan. And we went up to South Korea and the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone. So we went down in this tunnel that was built by the North Koreans to invade South Korea. And it's extremely real to me now after being in that area, and then seeing what could happen with nuclear weapons, and really our human race being the cause of that much destruction.
Yes, that's a whole other level.
That's a whole other level, but that's what I'm talking about when I go, okay, this is all of us. The South Koreans believe that the North Koreans can find a new perspective, and that they will have unity, and they have all the systems in place for that unity to occur.
Wow.
And
You were in the tunnel?
we went down in a tunnel. There have been several tunnels that they had built, but there's one that they restored from the South Korean side to go right up against where the North Koreans had built it to, if that makes sense. It's like this meeting spot of the tunnels.
Wow.
You go down in there and you see, like, the North Koreans had sent their soldiers down there digging these tunnels for years and years to invade.
That's crazy.
And while we were there, that guy escaped from North Korea, and the South Koreans captured him and dragged him to safety, and it was all over the news there how much they wanted him to survive, and all the resources they gave him in order for him to rehabilitate into civilization. And his story, of being in a North Korean camp and finding, man, talk about falling to fear, finding the courage to escape.
That's crazy. I'm gonna have to look this up now. I never watch the news ever since I've had children, and I didn't want that around them. Like, I didn't want them growing up with this fear-based way of living. Right?
But we something happened, a few years ago when we all learned about The Secret, and we understood, like, the importance of getting positive, and and cutting all the negative out, because it was just like feeding the negativity cycle. And so now we're like, we have it so cut out that we're not aware of, like, this other side of our human race that's not really looking at things the way that we are. And how do we open our eyes enough to look at that?
and not be full on affected by it to the point of like needing to sleep for 3 days after because
Right.
you're
And like figuring out how to get into action to create resolution. I mean, there's like meditation circles happening around the world. Like people are changing the consciousness of our
Mhm.
planet to raise the level, which takes groups out of creating nuclear weapons and being terrorists.
Wow.
So you really can have an impact when you have an intention for what you're going to turn around.
I love that. That's a very good last sentence to that. um, Another question I have, I think I only have two more questions for you. What advice would you give your younger self?
I would tell her to be kind. Be
Yeah.
kind to herself. I worked so hard, and I still do tirelessly in my life to make sure that everyone else around me is comfortable at my own expense. And I would have taught myself a lot sooner that that I deserve to be treated well too.
Would that fall into people pleasing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've spent my life's work and even in my career saving people who are needing to have resources, to have help, right? It's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I do. It's my strong suit.
Yeah.
So it's great. And I need it too.
Yeah. Yeah. We do
So,
to be kind to ourselves for sure.
so yeah, I'm pampering myself. I'm eating really good food and I'm exercising and I'm sleeping 8 hours and I'm taking walks on the beach. And um, yeah, I would
Where
have
do you,
taught myself I would have taught myself that sooner. I moved to San Diego.
you know what? California is calling me, Jessica. Everybody, almost
Fun.
so many people on this show, on this segment of the show, are from California. It's unbelievable. And I
Well,
now have like 15 places to stay.
we're like a melting pot of positive vibes. It's so cool.
It's so cool. I know. I love it. My
Yeah.
last question for you is, what is the purpose of forgiveness?
The purpose of forgiveness is to allow yourself to release that which does not serve you.
Ah, yes. Release that which does not serve you. Thank you for being so open and so honest with all of these. And I refuse to let Jessica have those questions first. I wanted to see what your answers were. I've done this with several of the experts on this show. It's just, I love the rawness that comes out of being asked a question. It's like your first thought, your best thought kind of thing. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you for being so open. Is there anything now else that you would like to talk about with the free gift?
Yes, there are two gifts. So if you go to my fallintofear.com site, I will be posting a link for a guided meditation of your own journey, how to fall into fear, just from a subconscious level. So you're really going to dig deep into your inner self and release any blocks that may be there and actually work through that letting go component that we talked about so that you can really fall into whatever it is that your life is waiting for.
Right.
So that's just by going to my website and filling out your name and your email address so that I can send it to you. And it'll be an audio file that you could listen to over and over and over.
Awesome. That's a beautiful gift. Thank you.
And then if you'd like to co-contribute to the book, on that same page, you can fill out the application. For anyone who fills out the application, I will also send you the cute little necklace, and I'll post the picture there too.
Oh, and it's a beautiful little necklace. I love that. Thank you very much. I love that you brought so much of yourself to this interview today, and it's so nice to know you. I'm glad to call you my friend, and thank you
Thank
again.
you. All right, thanks.
I just wanted to let everybody know, remind everybody that Jessica and I would love to know what you thought about today's interview, how you can use any of the ideas that we've discussed in your own personal life. Anything you send over to me, I will make sure that Jessica gets all of the comments, but she and I would both really, really, really love to know. So thank you again, Jessica, for being here, and thank you to everybody watching The Empowered Woman. This is a place to come to learn how to challenge your fears, powerfully live the life that you want, and step into your influence. So thank you, everybody, again. Thanks so much. Bye, Jessica.
Bye.